Friday the 13th, Part 3, is set directly after the events of the previous films. The plot follows a teenage girl and her friends who go on a trip to a house near Camp Crystal Lake, where a wounded Jason Voorhees has taken refuge until re-emerging for another killing spree. The film also marks the first appearance of Jason's signature hockey mask, since it has become a trademark of both the character and the whole Friday the 13th franchise, as well as an icon in American cinema and horror genre in general. Um, so the original storyline was supposed to be was supposed to focus on a post-traumatic Guinea Field, who began learning self defense and returned to college after surviving her ordeal in the previous film. After finding Paul's corpse inside her dormitory, she prepares to track down Voorhees and face him in a final confrontation. However, this concept was abandoned when Amy Steele, who I believe is I mean, it's the actress who played Ginny Field from the second film, declined to reprise her role. And so, yeah. So this film was released in theaters in 3D. It is the only film in this whole series to be released in 3D. It was intended to, part three was intended to end the series, the whole Friday the 13th series as a trilogy. However, unlike many of its successors, the film did not include a moniker in its title and to indicate it as such. And it got a lot of negative reviews from critics, and yeah, it was the first film to remove E.T., the extraterrestrial, from the number one box office spot and became the second highest grossing horror film of 1982 behind Poltergeist. Um, so, yeah, there's that. Like I said, a couple things. Okay, I will say this about Friday the 13th, Part 3. I will say this. The acting um, in this film is a major improvement than the past two movies, because the first two movies were cheesy and corny, and you're all doomed. Camp Crystal Lake is doomed. Yeah, it was cheesy, corny. The acting was so terrible. I didn't mention it in the second review. I think I might have mentioned it in my first video, in my first review. But I haven't went back and saw it. But yeah, it's just really cheesy and corny. But in the third film, it's definitely improved. Um, but the acting is, it's great. It's an improvement. But but kind of like the first two movies, again, like the story, the script, the narrative, like once you take a step back and look at the whole movie and the whole story and the screenplay, it's so bad. It's terrible. It's still terrible. Um uh but just I remember the way the eyeball, I remember when in this film when Jason kills one of the victims, the way the eyeball pops out of his skull, um is just, it's so funny. But in a 3D, I can see it, having an effect. But yeah, you can tell some of the effects, and there is a use of dummies here and there. But it's I don't know. It's just, it's still it's still terrible. it's, Friday the 13th Part 3 continues the trend of this whole franchise as being terrible. But the acting's an improvement, and plus, if you want to, like I said, the best part, like if you want to watch like a movie and where you don't want to where you don't care about like stories or characters or anything. If you want to see, like, if you want to watch a horror movie, a Halloween movie where people get killed, I guess the Friday the 13th, any, not just part three, but like any one of them, it's fine. I mean, sure, there's entertainment value there, but yeah, it's just, it's terrible. It's still terrible. Like, it's still terrible narratively and structurally. The only thing I can give it is like the acting's a major improvement. I can see why this movie was released in 3D or something like that. Like, there are moments, there are some moments, especially the death, and specifically the death scenes that, where Jason is killing his victims. Where, like, I can see where the 3D has a very special effect. But yeah, it's just, it doesn't, there's not really much to it. With or without 3D, there's not, much to it except having a bigger effect. It's kind of like 40 watching a movie in 40x. Nowadays, it's just, yeah. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have to say for Friday the 13th Part 3. Thank you so much for taking the time to listening to my review. Please like and subscribe. Definitely subscribe, because when you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll be helping me out by a ton, by a bunch. And I really would appreciate if you went and do that. But thank you so much, and I'll see you at my next video.